we look at activities, we look at the culture, we look at the lifestyle that our world promotes, right? The ways of the world are not in our best interest when it comes to our health, right? They don't protect your well-being. They don't protect your health. The best life, right, in the eyes of the world will end in destruction, right? Wide is the gate and broad is the road that leads to destruction, and many enter through it, right? Matthew 7:13. Our battle with food, with fitness, with stress, with addiction, right? All these things, we look at these are spiritual battles because we're wrestling with these desires of the flesh. Right? When we focus on what our flesh wants, right, the devil can hold you hostage. So we're either under the influence of God or we're under the influences of the world, right? Those are the two controllers. So our human willpower, right, unfortunately, will always let us down. So we need to lean on God's divine power to sustain us, right? Life is a journey. Health is a journey. Health is a lifelong process. Something that we need to pay attention to all the time, right? Not just when we're sick, not just when we're injured. Health should be on our mind all the time. And that journey begins with faith, because faith is necessary, because you got to believe that the change is possible, right? We know our journey has bumps and potholes and wrong turns in traffic and all that type of stuff, right? But remember, that's part of the journey, right? God made us much more than conquerors to endure that, right? We must live in that attitude. Right? You know, Philippians 4:13 tells us that I can do all things through him who strengthens me. All things, right? And the one that is in you is greater than the one that is in the world, right? That's what we need to focus on. So we have more power on the inside than the TV commercials, than the bad habits, and all of those things. We got to lean on this divine power to make better choices more often. And there are very significant places where we need to do that. Sorry, I was looking at something here. Gotcha. All right, little mess up, but we're okay. We're all right here. So problem number one, right, is that we're eating too much of the food that causes us to break down. That's the food that man made. Problem number two is we're eating too much of the food, not enough of the food that builds us up, the food that God made, right? And we're choosing what to eat in the moment. This is huge. This is a huge problem. So problem number one, right? Are we eating too much of the foods that cause us to break down? So we got to look at some of these things. Processed food, right? That's a big one. And you guys may have seen this before. Remember we talked about whole food versus processed food, and I think this is a real clear example of that. And so this food, this just looks at the difference between whole food and real food and processed food. When we look at what they fed these animals here. So consider this. If you look at these things, they fed animals, they're all done on cats, right? Group A got raw milk. Raw meat. Group B got raw milk. C got pasteurized milk. D got evaporated milk. And E got condensed milk. So real simply, we're going to break this into two categories. Group A and B there in blue, they got whole food, real milk, right? And real meat. The others were on processed food or processed milks. So they studied these are all in cats, by the way. I'm sorry. And they studied what happened to these cats. So the cats eating the whole milk and the raw meat just remained healthy through their complete lifetime. And then they studied on the processed foods. Those cats started getting ill and illness disease towards the end of their life. Then they studied the second generation of these cats. Again, on the raw milk, raw meat, whole food, they remained completely healthy through the whole time. But when they studied the second generation here, look at this. Now they started developing diseases towards the middle of their life. Next generation of cats, still completely healthy, eating whole food. On the processed milks, these cats now got diseases and illnesses at the beginning of the life, and many of those kittens died before they were 6 months of age. And then the fourth generation, again, completely healthy. And this is most interesting if you guys can read that small print. It says, there was no fourth generation. That's how sick those kittens were. Most of them didn't even live to 6 months old. So I think this is a real dramatic study. If you look at the difference between column B and column C, raw milk versus pasteurized milk, there's a night and day difference between those things, those two things, right? And that's so important. We're talking about real food versus processed food. Very, very important. All right, many processed foods are no longer really considered food anymore. They can't even sustain life in kittens for 4 generations. We'll get back to that, but that's super, super important. The other thing we got to look at is genetically modified food. It's a crazy thing going on in our world today. And you know, GMO food, right? They use glyphosate, Roundup, a lot of things like this. We call them frankenfoods. Got really strange stuff comes out of that. But there's problems with toxicity, allergic reactions, antibiotic resistance, immunosuppression, cancer. You know, right now there's over 40,000 lawsuits out there over GMOs. There's loss of nutrition. But what's important to know is about labeling. So you can beat the system the way it's currently until they start changing it, right? If you look, oh, it's pretty small, but see the apple in the bottom row there, right after it says GMO safe? You know, all our fruit, right, and vegetables have these little tags on them. So if you look at those numbers, if that number begins with a 4, it means that that fruit or that vegetable was conventionally grown. So it's just conventional, like old school. There's probably some pesticides and herbicides and stuff like that, right? But it's still not GMO. If it has a number 5 on it, that means, I'm sorry, if it, that's a 4-digit number. The 5-digit number, if it begins with a 9, that's organic. So that's good. Hey, it was grown without herbicides and pesticides, and it's organic food. A 5-digit number that begins with an 8 means it was genetically modified. So there's your key. You can look on fruits and vegetables. If that number begins with an 8, then I would suggest not eating that. So we have very common things that are GMO: cornstarch, corn syrup, corn oil, soybean oil, canola oil, granulated sugar, potatoes, summer squash, apples, papayas, pineapples, just to name some. So you got to look. It's important, right? You can look at the labels, and you're able to beat the system with that. So there's anchors that you have to make from eating good foods and be eating bad foods, or foods that can harm you. You know, we know that foods taste good in our brain, right? But are they bad for the body? Are we trading things for the temporary pleasure, the taste or satisfaction we might have, for long-term pain and things that will happen in our body? You know, things appealing by sight, the way that they look or that they smell, you know, or they just repelling what nature is really all about. We really got to make these emotional connections to these things so we can make better choices, is the point, right? If we're just making our choices on what tastes good, then that's all that there is, right? What tastes good, doesn't matter what we eat, is it good, bad. So the real important, you want to make connections to those things. We want to make the things that are unhealthy for us, we got to make them seem more or less attractive, right? We have to have more knowledge of why those things are hurting us. And then things that we know maybe are pretty good, like our fruits and vegetables, we need to know more about why they're so good for us, right? We got to flip that balance, and that really helps us make better decisions. All right, so when we look at GMOs, when we look at these processed foods, one thing that came to mind was this, right? That why would we put this stuff in our body? Toxic chemicals, foreign substances, lack of nutrition, literally gene mutation, right? Foods that are not suitable for human consumption. We should think about zombies. That maybe you remember, have that in your mind. Next thing we have to look out for is inflammatory foods, right? This is a big one. Unfortunately, a lot of those foods are probably pretty appealing to most people, aren't they? But they're very, very inflammatory, with a big one on our list is sugar. You know, there's a lot of reasons not to eat sugar, but here's 10 good ones for you. 1, it makes you fat. It makes you hungrier. It ages you. It rots your brain. It makes you anxious. It gives you bad teeth. It leads to diabetes. It leads to heart disease. It leads to cancer. It leads to fertility problems. That's a pretty good list, right? Sugar. So we anchor that. We need to make this look less appealing to us, right? We have to think about things, any things on those lists that would do, right? But we have to think about sugar makes us fat. I don't know about you guys, but I grew up learning that fat makes you fat. Probably sounds familiar to most people, right? Oh, if you eat that fat, you're going to get fat. You know that's not true, right? It's sugar that makes you fat. Your body stores sugar as fat. So eating sugar is even worse than eating the fat, way worse, and you'll see why. And so you got to make connections that you may not like, saying, whoa, if I eat those things, it's going to make me fat. We've got to put a negative anchor on there. Not good for us. How about unhealthy vegetable oils? This is huge. You know, this is arguably one of the worst things that may be in our entire diet today. These unhealthy vegetable oils: corn oil, soy oil, cottonseed, sunflower, safflower, peanut, canola oils. They're in everything that's boxed, that's bagged, that's packaged. It's a big deal. And so again, these things cause inflammation. They're very unhealthy. We just need to anchor to them. Well, why? Why? You know, what can we do? So we got to think of the things that they lead to. So we got to make connections in our mind with, whoa, consuming these unhealthy oils leads to things like systemic inflammation, inflammation of your heart, inflammation of your blood vessels and your arteries, brain inflammation, dementia, breathing difficulties, chest pain, cardiovascular disease. We got to make these connections, right? Saying, whoa, that's what those oils are about and things that they can lead to. Corn and soy is another huge one on our list, right? Corn and soy are put in thousands and thousands and thousands of products. And again, they're very, very inflammatory, by the way. The corn and soy is always consider that to be GMO, genetically modified, unless it is organic. And so we have to watch out for that. So we got to make connections about that inflammation in our body, systemic inflammation, organ and gland inflammation, widespread pain in your body, muscle pain, joint pain, arthritis, headaches. We got to make these connections. This is what this stuff does in our body to make them less appealing to us. Wheat is on the list too. Wheat also is very inflammatory, but in particular, right, we're very concerned about a protein in wheat called gluten. Gluten beats everybody up, that, by the way. We're not talking just about celiac. If you truly have a genetic disposition to that, everyone responds to gluten. Everyone. It inflames everyone. Some people it's not so noticeable. Other people it causes serious problems. Very, very inflammatory. It inflames your gut. It causes bloating and digestive issues and leads to something called leaky gut. Leaky gut is when these tight barriers that hold these one single cells in your gut together, they separate and they allow things to leak. So stuff, toxic stuff from your blood leaks, from your gut leaks into your bloodstream. The bloodstream is pure and pristine. It's not supposed to have any toxins in there, right? So we're getting this junk out of our GI tract into our bloodstream, which is not good. So the body has to go and attack that, right? So your immune system goes and attacks what's in the blood that shouldn't be in the blood, even if it's just broccoli, but it shouldn't be there in that amount. So it goes and attacks it and you get inflamed. If that inflammation stays on, then your body develops autoimmune disease, right, from leaky gut. Gluten, which is the protein in wheat, attacks those tight junks and it opens them up in everybody every time you eat gluten. Just depends how do you do with it. Do you close those things up within minutes or do they stay open for hours or days and cause you serious damage? When those things stay open again, it leads to autoimmune disease, brain fog, and a leaky gut causes a leaky brain. Do you guys even hear about that? Probably familiar with leaky gut, but the exact same thing happens with leaky brain. The barriers in your brain open up and leak, and that's not good because obviously we don't want toxins and stuff going into your brain, and that's exactly what happens. When your gut leaks, your brain will end up leaking. You cannot separate brain issues and gut issues. So if you got gut issues, IBS, indigestion, these things going on, I'm telling you, your brain is suffering big time because of that. If you got brain issues, depression, anxiety, different things happen like that, I'm telling you, your gut has holes in it. These things go hand in hand. You got to look at these things together. And then last on the list is dairy products. If you weren't scared enough from seeing what happened to those cats when you take milk and then you pasteurize it, completely changes it, right? Not the greatest thing for us. It's very inflammatory. So we want to connect dairy products to negative things like sinus congestions and phlegm and coughing and allergies and asthma, digestive issues, immune system problems, increased risk of diabetes, by the way, things like that. We got to make these negative connections. The whole point is we got to take these things that are not good for us and we have to have negative emotions and negative connections to them, real simply, to make them less appealing. Because don't they all look good and they all taste good? But we got to make this change in our mind of saying, yeah, they may look good and taste good temporarily, but this is not doing a good thing for my body. In the long term, it can really hurt me. So that's what we need to do in our mind to kind of win this battle. And there's two very, very important things that, you know, all these things say, you got to do better, you got to cut down, you got to reduce. It'd be awesome if you could eliminate that. But these are two things, just stop it tonight. Just wake up. These are just horrible for you. And one of these things is artificial sweeteners. Every time I talk about these things because they're just poison. They're just poison for your body, right? We'll pick on aspartame. It's just been around longer, so we can beat it up a little more. Aspartame is made of three things. Number one is called aspartic acid. It stimulates nerve cells in your nervous system and your brain until they die. There's over 500 scientific references that tell us that. 99% of that is MSG, which I'm going to beat up in a minute. Second part of that is called phenylalanine. 50%. Right? It decreases serotonin levels in your body that leads to emotional disorders, seizures, and depression. And the last 10% in aspartame is methanol, which is wood alcohol. That is a deadly poison for a human, but when you heat it, it breaks down to formaldehyde, which now becomes a deadly neurotoxin. Russell Blaylock, you may guys have heard of him. He's a famous neurologist. He says, aspartame by far is the most dangerous substance on the market, which is added to foods. Aspartame accounts for 75% of the adverse reactions to food additives that are reported to the FDA. So studies have repeatedly shown that consuming artificial sweeteners may be ruining your ability to count calories. So again, what's the two big reasons why the people would use artificial sweeteners, right? They, one, want to lose weight, or they're diabetic. So this tells us, wow, it messes up your body's ability to count calories. It says, contrary to popular belief, research has shown that artificial sweeteners stimulate your appetite, increase your carbohydrate cravings, and stimulate fat storage and weight gain. Artificial sweeteners, like in diet sodas, one diet soda actually increases your risk of diabetes and more than doubles your risk of obesity. So bizarre, right? The exact reasons they advertise them to us are the exact opposite of what they do in our body. So to me, that's not an excuse that we're trying to lose weight, we're diabetic, I got to use Diet Coke. No, you don't. Make a better choice. Aspartame. Roaches and ants won't eat it. Cats and dogs won't eat it. House flies won't eat it, but the FDA serves it up to us. Side effects include headaches, muscle spasms, irritability, heart palpitations, loss of taste, joint pain, dizziness, weight gain, tachycardia, breathing difficulty, ringing in the ears, blurred vision, seizures, vertigo, nausea, blindness, slurred speech, fatigue, numbness, rashes, insomnia, hearing loss, depression, memory loss. Sounds great, doesn't it? That's aspartame. And then it's got a brother called MSG. We all know that, right? That it's a food additive, makes really boring food taste great. The difficulty with MSG, artificial sugars you can find pretty easily, right? These things that are sweet like candy, but they have no sugar in them, beware. But MSG has all these hidden names, and these are just some of them. These are the most popular ones. And if you look at these things like, how about anything hydrolyzed? So these fake meat vegetarian products like veggie burgers, meatless hot dogs, all these different stuff. They have hydrolyzed vegetable protein. That is a form of MSG. Autolyzed yeast, carrageenan, right, which is that thickening gel. Natural flavoring, citric acid, barley malt, maltodextrin, soy sauce. There's so many names of different forms of MSG in our body. So what you need to know about aspartame and MSG is about this, they share this receptor. There's a receptor called the NMDA receptor. It's the most excitatory receptor in human physiology, which just means that anything that docks to that receptor gets super excited. So when a taste nerve comes in and connects to that thing, whoo, that's when you can take something so boring and plain like a plain corn chip. Imagine that, just plain old corn chip with absolutely nothing on it. Super boring, super plain. But you put that magical cheesy dust on it, like a Dorito, and whoo, eat the whole bag. Delicious, you can't get enough, right? MSG. Things that can consistently dock into those receptors, they get so excited, the cells will get so excited until they die. We're talking about your brain cells. That accelerates neurodegenerative disorders of the brain like Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, ALS, seizure disorders, chronic headaches. And the younger a person is, the more damage it does to their brain. So when our kids walk around like with those little Cheeto fingers and things like that, right? Not good. Not good for their brains at all. So both glutamate from aspartame and, glutamate from MSG, aspartate from aspartame, they both use these receptors. We put them in the same category. They're both what we call excitotoxins. Very, very bad for you. There's no reason to be eating food with that stuff in it. So this guy, Dr. Smith, published an article in the Journal of Pharmacology. And what he did is he took all these pain studies, chronic pain sensitization studies. People basically had symptoms like fibromyalgia, right? All these different studies, and he took all the people that failed the studies, meaning, the drug that they used in this study didn't work. This therapy in this study didn't work. These people still had pain. He took all those failed people, put them into one new study. And all he did in the new study is eliminate all forms of MSG and all forms of artificial sugar for just 4 consecutive months. And he had a 100% cure rate of chronic pain. So think about that if you're a pain sufferer as well. Check your diet, see if these things, are sneaking in. So again, I was trying to find a picture for that. I don't know, a toxic dump of your body, people are going to come visit you in a hazmat suit, or we could just probably play it safe and let's just do zombies again, right? Everybody loves zombies. But you got to think about these toxic chemicals, right? I thought about putting pictures up there with people with boils and rashes and open wounds, but that wouldn't be so appealing. Everybody loves zombies. Not good for you, not good for you at all, right? So think about it, we got a negative anchor. We got a negative anchor emotionally, these things that are harmful for us, that are bad for us. We can't just go by our taste, like, oh, this tastes great, without a consequence. Problem number 2 we need to look at, right? Is what we're eating, right? Is it too little of the food that builds us up, right? Are we getting too much of the bad stuff or not enough of the good stuff? And that's the greatest part of the Daniel Plan. You realize there's basically one big rule in there, right, of the Daniel Plan? And that the biggest rule is this: just eat whole, real food. Just eat real food, which sounds ridiculous even to say that, but it needs to be said in today's world because so much of the food we eat is not even real food. Real food consists of fruits, vegetables, meat, right? Eggs, beans, nuts, seeds, even whole grains. If you choose to do that, we recommend gluten-free, now that you know why. Right? So quickly, let's go through these lists and just show how easy it is to eat whole, real food. Our best veggies, non-starchy veggies, these are our top 10. Right? Asparagus, bell peppers, broccoli, cauliflower, collard greens, cucumbers, green beans, kale, spinach, and zucchini. Our starchy veggies and the gluten-free grains would be like beets, carrots, green peas, sweet potatoes, turnips, winter squash, corn, very inflammatory, right? Corn and soy, super inflammatory. Quinoa, buckwheat, and rice, which is also inflammatory. But those are on the list, right? Those are things we can eat. When you think about these starchy veggies, right? I don't know about you guys, but I think most people did. Like me, we grew up like peas, carrots, sweet corn was a little side, right, on the dish. And again, there are antioxidants. There's a lot of nutrients in there, but they also raise our blood sugar. So we just want those in a smaller amount, a smaller part on a side dish. Okay, is good to use those. Less than 10% of Americans eat the recommended amount of fruits and vegetables per day. We should be getting about 5 to 9 servings, and really only 1 serving should be fruit, right? So majority of that needs to be vegetables. The research is overwhelming that tells us the single most important thing that we can do for our health is eat more vegetables, right? It's about the only thing that all these different philosophies out there on nutrition agree upon is getting unlimited veggies in there. Because plants contain a rich combination of blood sugar balancing, anti-inflammatory, detoxifying compounds called phytonutrients, like these micronutrients, right? One single apple has over 400 phytonutrients in it. One tomato has over 10,000, right? You're not going to get that in this fake processed food. We know that inflammation is linked to almost every disease of aging: heart disease, diabetes, cancer, dementia. Being overweight is an inflammatory state. And fruits and vegetables contain just the most powerful anti-inflammatories that we have in nature. We also are going to get our fiber, right, from our fruits and vegetables. Very important, keeps our digestive system healthy. It feeds the good bacteria. It keeps that inflammation down, and it helps balance our blood sugar. Most Americans only get somewhere about 8 to 12 grams of fiber per day, right? We need about 30 to 50 grams of fiber per day. So let's anchor some good things to some good things too, right? Think about our veggies. What's awesome about our veggies? We want to think about having energy. We want about feeling is have that vitality on the inside, having healthy skin, healthy, clear thinking, healthy relationships, having enough energy to want to go out and exercise and be active, right? We want to connect that with eating our veggies. And then we have our healthy proteins. Very, very important as well, because the secret to having fewer cravings, which is a huge part of the battle, right, is having balanced blood sugar. Right? Also, losing weight is also very helpful by having enough protein. About 4 to 6 ounces is great. Ideally, we're looking for organic, grass-fed beef or lamb, right? Organic, hormone-free, pesticide-free, free-ranging turkeys or chicken. We can also consider eating leaner things like bison or venison. Pork is considered the least healthiest meat. Fish is one of the best sources of protein, also a great source of our omega-3 fats, which is just critically important for our brain. The best fish are wild caught. Anybody know why? I know some of you know. Wild versus farmed? Omegas are good. What do they feed farm fish? Do you guys know? Soy. Awesome. I knew you guys knew. Soy is inflammatory, right? So wild caught. And smaller fish are less toxic, right? Because bigger fish eat the biggest, et cetera, et cetera. So the biggest guys in the food chain, like shark and tuna and things like that, they ate a ton of other fish and they bioaccumulate all their toxins, such as mercury. So I just saw a study yesterday about farm salmon. They said there are 3 times more omega-6s in farm salmon, right? Omega-6s are the causes of inflammation. We eat omega-3s to balance out the omega-6s. So they're 300% more inflammatory, 800% more PCBs, and there's high levels of pesticides and antibiotics in farmed salmon. Plus they fed them soybeans on top of that, right? So they fed the farm salmon to mice, and the mice developed obesity and diabetes. So that's another big one, right? People go out and they think you're at a restaurant making a nice, oh, I'm going to have the grilled salmon. It's inflammatory. That's inflammatory, right? Unless it was wild caught, right? Our beans are great as well. Inexpensive, very power-packed, source of protein, vitamins, minerals, fiber as well. For most people, beans will not spike your blood sugar. Watch out for the baked beans though, right? They put all types of nice flavors and sugar in there. And if you're going to buy canned beans that are pre-cooked, just write BPA. BPA-free cans is what you're looking for. Other sources, right, are our nuts. The best nuts are almonds, walnuts, pecans, macadamia nuts are good. Want them raw, lightly roasted, lightly or unsalted. We just watch what a lot of times they do with the nuts, right, is they fry them in those unhealthy omega-6 oils. So you got to watch out for that. Nut butters are great snacks, right? Nuts are great sources of fiber as well. And we have our seeds, right? Pumpkin seed, sunflower seed, sesame seed, hemp seed, chia seed, flax seed. Add these to salads, to smoothies, things like that. Great sources of protein. Again, anchor. So the things that you like, the things that you know that are healthy for you, anchor to things that are positive. Think about having a protein, getting great sleep, which is also, by the way, saying that's a great way at night. Get your fats at night. Like take your omega-3 fish oil, take it at night. It's a fat, right? And it has the proteins that we eat in that or fats will satisfy your body, give you a better night's sleep. So think about getting great sleep. Think about having strength, having endurance, just enjoying time with your friends, having the energy to do that, wanting to go out, wanting to be active, wanting to participate. Make good connections. Fruits are good. Everyone loves fruit, right? We just want lower glycemic fruits, right? Fruits don't have all of the same value as I'll show you. These are the top 10 fruits: apples, blackberries, blueberries, goji berries, grapefruit, kiwi, nectarines, peaches, plums, raspberries. So it's neat to go online, look at what they call the glycemic index. How high something you eat raises your blood sugar. Does it cause your blood sugar to spike? So for example, maybe you love apples. If you look at that, that's a 38 on the glycemic scale. But look at watermelon at a 72, right? So watermelon spikes your blood sugar literally twice or 200% times what an apple would. So choose to eat more apples, right? Fruits, again, can be a great source of powerful anti-inflammatory, antioxidants, and a lot of nutrients in there. The darker and richer the colors, the more power-packed nutrition will be in our fruits. We want to stay away from the juices. The juices will often have even more sugar than soda, ounce per ounce. If you're overweight or have blood sugar issues, you don't want to eat more than 1 serving of fruit per day. That's 1 piece of fruit or a half a cup. We want to limit those high sugar fruits. So again, we've got to make great connections. We've got to anchor to these things as well, right? Anchor things like having energy, having a robust immune system, being active, enjoying your life, participating with friends, doing all the stuff that we should be doing, right? We got to anchor those things down. And fats. I don't know about you guys, but I grew up as a kid. Well, I was a fat little kid, but besides that, we just got fat was just vilified in my house. I think it was fat in our culture, right? Everything fat's bad. You eat fat, you're going to get fat. And of course, we learned several years ago, it was all political, right? It's sugar. It's sugar that makes you fat. Eating fat does not make you fat. Fat is so important for your body. Your brain is 60% fat. Healthy fats are really, really important. Fats that we'll get our omega-3s from fish and supplementing with fish oil, from our nuts, from our seeds, from avocados and avocado oil, from olives, olive oil, coconut oil. These are great sources of healthy fats, other than that will come from our healthy meats. Very, very important. Again, they're anti-inflammatory. They lower your triglycerides. They lower your cholesterol. They make your food tasty and satisfying. And it's a great way to have fats with every meal. It helps keep your blood sugar stable as well. All right? Every one of your 10 trillion cells in your body are surrounded by fatty membrane. Right? So it's the fats in your body make up that membrane. If you have healthy fats, then you have healthy membranes and you have healthy cells. If you have unhealthy fats, then you're not going to have as healthy cells. Very, very important. Olive oil, we talked about that. The coconut oil, excellent sources, right? They did a study in Spain. Everybody was put on the Mediterranean diet, which is a pretty good overall diet. And then what they did, they broke the people in the group into 3 different categories. In the first group, they had the Mediterranean diet, and then each person had to drink a liter of olive oil per week. The second group had to eat 30 grams, which is about an ounce of nuts per day. And the third group just had the healthy diet. And what they found is that the groups that had the olive oil and the nuts added, they had a 30% reduction in heart attacks and 30% reduction in death rate. So the study showed us that actually more fat, right, healthy fats was actually better. I don't know about you. We grew up all the time, right? Oh, you eat fat, you're going to get fat. Eat fat, you're going to have a heart attack. Eat fat, you're going to have high cholesterol. Not healthy fats, right? Talking about healthy fats. This study also showed that this produced a better effect on the cholesterol than statin drugs. And of course, no side effects associated with that. So again, make great connections. It's very important for us to eat healthy fats. Think about being satisfied. Think about having a healthy brain, healthy cardiovascular system, not being hungry, having energy, sharp mind, sharp memory, enjoying being active, and all the great things that life has for us. And the last thing is grains. I leave that for last because I think it really should be the small amount. You guys remember, I should have put a picture up, the old classic food pyramid, right? Remember the bottom was the grains. They've been teaching us for decades that we should eat more grains than anything. I'm telling you, flip it upside down, you do way better. Grains, we don't eat grains. When you're going to eat grains, though, you don't want to eat them if they're not processed because, you know, white bread can raise your blood sugar even more and faster than a tablespoon of sugar, right? Not good. So if you're going to eat grains, about a half a cup a day for men, a third of a cup for women. Best grains are gluten-free, right? If you cook pasta al dente, it is actually lower glycemic. So flour products, some of you guys can read that in red. Flour products, again, we can have them from time to time. In particular, if they're gluten-free is even better, but they should be considered a special treat. We've been talking about bread, right? Consider making that change. So I want to show you this because it's really interesting to show you how high and how glycemic bread and flours are. Look at these breads. Even like a whole grain bread is still going over 50 on that glycemic scale. Look at like white bread, but in there 71. It really, really spikes your blood sugar. It's very, very significant. And we look at things like breakfast cereals. This even blows my mind more because, like, look at that, right? And like, well, nothing looks good on there. Nothing is tasty. Like, where's the Frosted Flakes? Where's the Pop-Tart? You know, where's all the Fruit Loops and the stuff? That stuff doesn't even register. Look at how boring puffed wheat. Like, it's like nothing. It's air. How about shredded wheat? I mean, that stuff's like sawdust. Like 69, 74 on the glycemic index. This stuff just sparks your blood sugar so much. It's so glycemic. That's why it's important to watch those grains and limit those grains, right? So the glycemic index is a great nutritional tool to show you how your carbohydrates will affect your blood sugar. And here are some of the benefits, right? It keeps our insulin levels low. It helps you burn fat easier. It helps you release fat and keep lean muscle. It reduces your triglycerides, your total and your LDL cholesterol. It increases your HDL cholesterol. It lessens your risk of type 2 diabetes. It limits your risk of developing cardiovascular disease. It sustains high energy and enhances your mental and physical performance. Super important stuff, right? And that's why we're always cautious about the grains. Everybody talks about the carbs, right? Well, that's why. That's why. So the Daniel Plan puts together a really nice visual of a plate. I think it's a great guide, something to strive for if you're not there. If you realize half of that plate or 50% of your meal should be healthy, non-starchy veggies. Like, wow, that's like different than our culture, right? Our culture says, put a big steak on that side of the plate, right? Then your little pile of peas and then this big mound of mashed potatoes, right? We all grew up probably that way. Got to flip this thing around. And again, if you want, you don't have to put like all one veggie on that side, right? You can have two non-starchy veggies on that side, but 50% should be veggies, 25% being that healthy protein, and then 25% again can be those starchy veggies, or if you're going to put pasta in there or a grain, you could do that. So I like that visual. I think it's a good thing. Quickly about drinks, we just know that soda, sports drinks, those syrup coffees, sweetened teas and juices, diet drinks, etc., energy drinks, they're just super highways for obesity, for food cravings, and brain chemistry problems. One sugary drink, including orange juice, right, or soda, collapses your innate immune system. That's very important. We talked a lot about that last couple of years about COVID. When that collapses, you're in trouble, right, making you more susceptible to virus, bacteria, stuff that's out there. They show that orange juice does more metabolic damage to your body than soda does ounce per ounce. So they did another study looking at how smoking damages your DNA. And the people in this study were relatively young, right, between 28 and 38. And they showed their average DNA was showing the age of 61 because they smoked every day. I forget the amount. I want to say it was a pack a day, I want to say. All right? So, wow. So smoking radically ages your DNA. And they showed that one sugary soda a day was the equivalent of the DNA damage of smoking. That's kind of freaky, right? If you guys are good enough not to smoke, but you drink soda every day. Right? And orange juice is even worse, right? Does more damage than soda. Something to think about. So we know we all want water, right? We can spice it up. Add lemon or lime, herbs, sparkling or still. We need a lot of hydration, 6 to 8 glasses every day. A real big goal, is to try to drink half your body weight in ounces per day of pure, clean water. Herbal teas, green teas are good. Coffee is okay, especially in the morning. 1 to 2 cups in a day, most studies say is excellent unless you're sensitive to the caffeine. Otherwise, that's okay. Caffeine actually helps your brain. Not bad. The coffee's not the problem in most cases, right? It's what you put in the coffee. You have to put the cream, the sugar, the flavors. That's the stuff that gets most people, right? And coffee, by the way, I would highly recommend doing organic, just because coffee is one of the most highly pesticided products that there is. So buying organic coffee is a good thing to do. And lastly, problem number 3, right, is that are we making decisions of what we're going to eat in the moment? And that's a tough one, right, because we make bad choices. Sometimes we're starving and we're like, whatever, or time, I just got to grab something quick. Or even sometimes just a menu, like, whoa. We got a big variety here, right, and there's all types of bad choices that are available to us. The problem is that, you know, we live in a toxic nutritional wasteland when it comes to food. The last place that we want to find ourselves is what we call a food emergency, right? So what a food emergency is when our blood sugar starts to drop. Understand that we're hardwired for survival to eat. When your blood sugar drops, your body is wired to eat, and it wants to eat everything and anything you can get your hands on as quick as possible. And so we think, oh, we can beat that with our willpower, right, and try to contradict or stop our hunger from happening, and it really contradicts the science of how your body works, trying to for survival mechanism that your brain's trying to control your behavior. So the question is, you know, how often do you find yourself like that? You just get hungry, you find yourself binging or eating with whatever in front of you. That can be a problem, right? Most of us too, our lives are ridiculous. Our lives are so busy, the way that we live. It can be challenging to get our hands on some good quality food at certain times. We're constantly on the go. I think most Americans are in a state of business. They skip breakfast in the morning. They're subject on the way to work of stopping at some, you know, going through a drive-through window, getting some coffee, you know, high-sugared coffees, donuts, scones, muffins, things like that, which are really just, you know, dressed up high-sugar cookies, right, in disguise. On the way home, there's fast food restaurants and convenience stores and all these things which lure us in trying to quick fix for our hunger. We don't want to be in that condition, right? So protein, we know, right? It controls our appetite. It balances your blood sugar for long periods of time. So we want to keep protein snacks on hand so we can avoid that crash that we get from these snack foods. Really important. We can set ourselves up and make better choices. So Dr. Mark Hyman is one of the MDs, one of the main authors of the health part of the Daniel Plan. He has what he calls a travel emergency pack. I think it's a great idea, whether you like these particular foods or not, but have something that works. He likes using jerky, whether it's beef, turkey, or wild salmon jerky, having packets of coconut or macadamia nut butter, raw protein food bars. You can have nuts, you can have a little fruit, dates, something like that with you. Good idea. I don't travel with that, but I go crazy if that's not in my desk at work, because I need this stuff all the time, right? I don't want to be in a food emergency. It's a great way, right, until you're able to eat. Other than avoiding that food emergency, right, what we want to do is just simply meal plan. Makes sense, right? And meal planning starts with the food that you buy. You want to be able to open up your fridge at home and say, okay, we got some good choices here. If you have bad choices and good choices, then sometimes you make good choices and sometimes you're not going to make good choices. So according to the Daniel Plan, right, look at the variety of things we could typically eat for breakfast. You know, we're not starving. We're not really limiting ourselves. We can have eggs, all right? We can have turkey bacon, turkey sausage, steel-cut oatmeal, ideally gluten-free, fruit, vegetables, make omelets, nut butters. You can sweeten things with small amounts of honey or maple syrup. You can make smoothies. If you're eating the grains, you could have a whole grain English muffin, whole grain toast. If you're eating dairy, you could have yogurt, organic Greek, low sugar would be some ideal options for that. Right? When we look at lunch and dinner, salads is great for either or both, because we get to mix a lot of things in. You can make it exciting, you can change it up. Right? Not only your lettuce, but you put your proteins in, whether it's turkey, chicken, steak, fish, shrimp. You have bison or burgers, right? You can have a burger, have a grass-fed burger on a gluten-free bun, right? You can have lamb, vegetable soups, your pasta, rice. There's a lot, right? It's not really restrictive. There's a lot of things you can do with meal planning there. And with snacks as well, here's just some great things. You know, hummus and dips. You can have cut vegetables, fruits, nuts, butter. There's the jerky again, protein bars, smoothies. Trail mixes are great. If you're eating the dairy and having cheese, the hard cheeses are better. Again, yogurt, plain because of low sugar. And the grains, gluten-free crackers, things like that. Used with the dips, used with the hummus. Guacamole should be on that list, by the way. That's the best thing ever. I'm going to add that to the list. But a lot of snacks, things that we can do. Variety, right? That's really important. You're not going to starve. There's a lot of great choices and things that you can do even following the Daniel Plan. One of my favorite rules, and particularly I would say after the Daniel Plan, right? Do your thing. Make your commitment for the Daniel Plan. But after that, this is a great rule that I think it keeps things real. It keeps us real. It keeps us feeling like, we can still enjoy life. And maybe some of those foods that aren't so great for us, but, right, we enjoy them, is still in the picture, and I'll show you why. It's called the 90-10 rule, which means that if you eat 90% of the time, kind of like I described here tonight, that's pretty awesome. That will change your life. That means 90% of the time. You're an A player. You got a 90. 90% of the time, you're eating very, very well. And that gives us a little bit of leeway, saying, you know what, about 10% of the time, we can slightly vary off of that and eat maybe some less ideal foods. You're still doing great. You're still maintaining an A. And psychologically, that's the difference between a treat and a cheat. No one wants to be a cheater. No one wants to vary from the plan, right? This is not a cheat. Oh, I messed up. I'm cheating on this. No, no, no. This is a treat. This is part of the plan. You're not varying from the plan. This is built in. So you're going to treat yourself. You're going to reward yourself for doing so great, staying on this 90% of the time. So again, based on eating 3 meals a day, 2 snacks a day, right? That's about 1 to 2 meals a week and 1 to 2 snacks per week. So doesn't that make it a little more realistic? Saying, "Whoa, I just love pizza or whatever." Well, awesome. You could have pizza once every week. You could have this, right? You can make it real. You can include things. I can go to a birthday party and have cake and ice cream. Yes, you can, right? It's part of the plan. And you'll do awesome if you could maintain that 90% of the time. So we'll close up with this. You remember Mark Hyman, one of the MDs again in the Daniel Plan, says food has the power to heal us, right? Food is the most potent tool that we have to prevent and treat many chronic diseases, including diabetes and obesity. Truly what you put on your fork dictates whether you're sick or well, slim or fat, depleted or energized. How does food do all this? Well, it's science called nutrigenomics. And it's the molecules in your food actually do more than just provide fuel for your body. They actually provide the instructions and tell every cell in your body what to do every moment. More than 95% of chronic illness is not related to your genes, right? Chronic illness, heart disease, cancer, diabetes, top causes of death, 95% of the time is not related to your genes, but what your genes are exposed to over your lifetime. That's called an episome. The episome is the sum of everything you eat, breathe, drink, feel, the toxins in your environment, even the 10 trillion cells in your gut. And this is good news to us because that means, wow, we have large control over that. We can control our environment. We control what we eat, right? Most things that we do every single day can be important, but the most single thing you do that interacts with your genes is the food that you eat, right? The tagline from the Daniel Plan, so important, right? Leave the food that man made and eat the food that God made. It's a way of eating that fixes everything. It has cured cancer, heart disease, dementia, diabetes, arthritis. Everything gets better when we eat whole, real food. When you provide the conditions for a living, thriving human being and you remove the impediments to health, disease simply goes away as a side effect. He says, food is medicine. It is the most powerful tool that we have to combat disease. Super powerful quote from him. So I'll leave you with this, right? We always have a fork in the road. We always have decisions to make. And I want you to just imagine this for a moment. I want you to think ahead in your life, 5, 10 years in the future. You know, what will your health be like 5, 10, 15 years from now? Will it be filled with health, life, vitality, energy, playing with your kids, your grandchildren, going outside, exercising, just enjoying life and being healthy and, right, everything's going well? Or would it not look so well in that time period? Are you going to be sick? Are you going to be diseased? Are you going to be bedridden? Are you not going to go out? You don't want to interact with people. You're not participating with your family and living a great life. If that were you, would you be regretful about that? Would you think, oh man, I just wish I would have taken better care of myself? Well, you know, we can't predict the future, which way that's going to go, but we can make the best choices possible to shape it. And only you get to choose which road that you're going to be on. And why now is just so important, literally tonight, is because chronic illness is lifestyle illness. The #1 cause of death in our country, heart disease, diabetes, cancer, right, is caused primarily by our lifestyle. The vast majority of those are factors that have led to that. And in most cases, right, those diseases took time to develop. Right? It doesn't happen where like, oh, I'm completely healthy on Saturday and then on Sunday I have stage 3 cancer. It doesn't work that way in most cases, right? This takes time, a lot of time. So that means that whatever's going to go affect us in the future is probably going on right now. and it's being formed by the way that we're choosing to live. So I ask you to make a commitment today to make just one change, at least one change, one simple change that will just take your health to the next level. Your future health is going to thank you for that. Thank you for listening.
Boy, we are bombarded with advertising, aren't we? To really poison
Programming.
us. You know, we're the most, of all the civilized nations, we're the most unhealthy. And look at all the commercials on TV. Like every other commercial is a drug commercial. I wonder why. And then the side effects will kill you if the sickness doesn't. Anyway. So if we have some questions, we got any microphones out there, Paul? Have a couple of floating mics. And if you have a question, raise your hand. We'll get it right over to you. Anybody at all? A lot of information. Just raise your hand, first of all.
Hey,
and we'll get the microphone over. Okay.
I have two questions.
Sure.
Is decaf coffee good?
I've read on that some. A lot of times it's the chemicals that they use to decaffeinate
How about if it's water
can
decaffeinated?
be an issue.
Or the Swiss water, whatever.
Yes, that's the best way to do it, absolutely.
Okay.
Water decaffeinated, yes.
Okay, then it's okay. And
Better choice.
why is stevia bad?
Stevia, I'm not against stevia.
Oh, good.
I should have
It's on your
clarified that.
list.
It was on the list.
Was it really?
Yes.
Oh, in the graphic?
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't make the graphic.
With all
Thank
the
you for bringing it up.
artificial sweeteners.
Actually, stevia is probably the only one on the list I think is okay. In fact, stevia has some really good positive effects for your gut. Stevia is okay. Thank you for clarifying that. Pure stevia. I'm not sure what was on that picture. Things like Pure Via and things like that, it's part stevia cut with all the junk.
Right.
Pure stevia, yes. Other stuff, no. Oh,
So
hey, Sally.
you made the question or the comment about the raw milk.
Yes.
So if you're supposed to cut out dairy, then how is raw milk supposed to be better for you?
Because it is not pasteurized or homogenized, which changes it.
Okay.
Right. So if someone were to say, if you wanted to use raw milk, I don't think that's so bad.
Okay.
But typically when we talk about milk, we're talking about a pasteurized, homogenized milk that we buy in the store. And as you saw on that thing between whole food and processed food, those are two very, very, very different things. I'm not opposed personally to using raw milk or raw butter,
Okay.
right? Grass-fed butter.
I can make a comment that the farm that's directly across the street from me sells raw milk,
Nice.
so I can get you the address if you're interested.
Yeah, yeah. It's hard to find
Yeah,
and
not too
illegal
many
in Rhode
places
Island last
have it.
time I heard. So you got to go to Mass for that. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy? Raw milk illegal in the state, yeah.
How about like something like almond milk? Would you almond milk? Instead of like
Absolutely. There's nut milks. Almond milk is a good one. Almond milk and coconut milk are my two preferences there. After that, the stuff like oat milk and yeah, just avoid soy milk. Avoid soy milk. And just watch out for those. Just you look what's in them. Are there fillers? Is there sugar? Are there gels and thickeners? But those milk alternatives in general are good. All clear?
One more.
You got you.
So,
Hey, Justin.
I've got two questions,
All right.
actually. First, for somebody, let's say like myself, who's had what you might call an apocalyptic diet for many years, how much can you actually reverse or turn around maybe the damage? You know, myself at 51 years old of, you know, eating everything under the sun that's horrific, how much can you do to reverse the cellular genetic damage?
You would be surprised. They show literally the day you stop eating damaging foods, for example, or you stop doing a damaging activity and start doing something that's not doing that, your body starts to regenerate and rejuvenate itself. All the cells in our body replace themselves and turn over, right? So as long as we stop damaging the ones and we're able to continue to replace those with healthy cells and start changing, absolutely. Never too late. Never too late.
All right, question two, and it might be a little off topic, but along with, healthy eating choices,
Yes.
what is your opinion on like intermittent fasting?
Love it. We just talked about this today, actually, in the office.
Okay.
Yeah. There's a lot of good reasons for that. Most of you guys familiar with that? Intermittent fasting? I think it's super cool, and it's actually fairly easy as well. We recommend starting off real easy, doing a 12-hour fast. And remember, you're going to sleep during those 12 hours. So how easy is that? Don't eat after 7 p.m. and don't eat again until 7 a.m. Not too bad, right? The body really likes it. You get the cleanse, you get the detox. Your brain starts going through something called autophagy, where it literally recycles and starts replacing damaged and tired and sick cells with brand new healthy cells. And so you start that at 12 hours. 12 hours is pretty easy, right? Most of us could almost do that tomorrow without trying. But the goal is to get up more like about 16 hours. And the longer you stay in there, the more that happens. It's amazing. There's fat burning, right? Your body's going to burn through all those carbs, burn through all the sugars, right? You're going to get into a state of ketosis and start burning fat as fuel, which is awesome, and everyone enjoys that. It's really good. There's a lot of great benefits from doing that. Love it.
What do you think about taking those vitamins with like the vegetables, like that commercial that keeps coming on in Fox? What's your opinion on
I'm
that?
not familiar with the brand that you may be referring to, but there's several companies that make whole food dehydrated fruits and vegetables. Sometimes like one's a veggie and one's a fruit, right? Two
Correct.
different, I know there's a few
Correct.
companies that do that. In general, that is a great idea, right? They're taking the sugar out, they take everything out but leave the nutrients. If you look though, most companies don't do that organic. But it's still a very good thing to get nutrients in, because that's a hard thing to do.
Dr. Ross, I did not know how to do the Daniel Plan at all. So I went on the internet and did some research, and I did not find where you are allowed to eat animal products. Is that untrue?
Am I off on that? It's okay. Right. Yeah, I thought so.
Meat's okay.
You're making me think. Yes.
That's okay.
Right, but her question is, which you're making me think now, because originally we did the Daniel fast. That's a different story. Daniel Plan includes these healthy meats. Yeah. No, yeah, no hot dogs. No hot dogs during dinner. No hot dogs till Easter. Yeah. Hey, Paul.
Yeah, if you do a fast, is there a safest way to come out of that fast, especially if you choose to go like a 24-hour fast or something like that?
Yes. Just be cautious of the foods that you're going to throw back in your system. It's like going like a day or two without eating. And just in case you guys think about fasting, right, just don't do nothing. Do water for sure, right? Plenty of water. Hydrate, things like that, depending on the type of fast that you're doing. Sometimes you do might do lemon or lime and things like that, maple syrup. There's different things you do depending on how long you fast. But remember, your body's going into that state, which is awesome. Get into that ketosis, get into that autophagy, which is really good. But you don't want to come out of that saying, all right, made it 24 hours, I'm going to have a steak and potatoes. Because you're going to like, boom, it's going to put a huge metabolic load on your body, and your body's going to have a really hard time digesting that. So I would suggest come out of it kind of slowly and eat some fruits and vegetables, right? Get the body cart going again, and then get your proteins in, like maybe later that same day.
Hi, I have a question. So, my mom suffers from insomnia, and she has been in different prescription medication, different diets, and nothing seems to really work for her. So do you have any advice as to what are some things she can do? Because she's trying to be active. She says certain nights are good, some are not. It's very discomforting to have insomnia, so I was just asking, what are some tips maybe in her diet that might help her maybe before going to bed? Or...
There's a few things that are common. There's a lot of different causes, as you know, but even regarding food, it's very important not to go to bed hungry. Your body is a survival machine. If we go to bed hungry, our body's going to wake up 2 o'clock in the morning to hunt and gather. It wants more food. It wants more stuff to keep going with. It needs energy. So that's why we want our proteins at night. So very, very important to eat protein at night. We want little carbs at night, right? Because carbs are going to convert into sugar. So high protein at night. That's also a great time. We highly recommend people take their fish oil supplement at night because it keeps that, it's all fats, keeping that healthy fats in the brain and keeping the body satisfied all night. So that's one possible thing. Watch out for the carbs and stuff like that. Lifestyle-wise, there's a lot of things. You don't want to go to the gym at 9 o'clock at night and then come home and try to go to sleep. We're trying to slow down at night. We want to stay out of blue light. We want to do things that are just more slow, calming. That's where we sit, we read, you meditate, you pray, you avoid major lights. You slow it down before bed instead of being ramped up and then laying in bed. I mean, there's a lot of different things, but food-wise, I would look at making sure you have the proteins, particularly healthy fats at night. So at least the body's satisfied that way to see what's going on. And calming the brain down is probably another important thing. A lot of reasons why people either can't fall asleep or they wake up and don't go back to sleep because, as you know, right, all had these times, have them all the time. We wake up and whoosh, hamster's on the wheel, right? And you can't get it off. It's just going. You're thinking about tomorrow, you're thinking about all this stuff. So some things that might be helpful, but we can help you with that.
Hi, I was wondering about monk fruit.
Like as a sweet, it's used as a sweetener, and yeah, I haven't seen too much negative stuff about that.
Okay.
I would say that's in my okay category.
Okay, and canned tomatoes, is that fine too?
Yeah, and BPA cans is good. Tomatoes, yeah, if they don't bother you. Tomatoes tend to be very acidic, also very high in lectins. If you look at that thing, that's another whole thing. We won't open the can on that, but yes. Everybody good?
Dr. Ross, awesome job tonight. Really, thank you for that.
Thanks.
A lot of information. This
Thanks
is
for having me.
online. Might want to hear it again. It's online on our church website. And I'll tell you what, we could do a whole night just on cereal. I didn't know puffed rice was bad. There's nothing to it.
I know, you think it'd be
And
good
would
for
think,
you,
yeah,
but
I would eat that, right? How about Wheaties?
yeah, it's all
Raisin Bran.
They're all of them. They're all on that list. They just.
But I do eat
yeah,
steel-cut oats.
There you go. That's a better choice.
So that's a good one, a good
Yes.
one.
Yes.
Well, thank you, Dr. Ross. Let's pray. Father,
Bye.
thank you for this night. Thank you for the information provided tonight by Dr. Ross and bringing him out, and Lisa. And thank you for their lives, and help us to be mindful of the things that we eat, the things that come into our body, as much as the things that go out of our body, the things that come out of our mouth, the words that we speak as well. And help us to stay on that road to physical and spiritual wholeness. So we thank you for tonight. Keep us safe as we travel home. We pray in Jesus' name. Amen.
Right. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for joining our service here at New Hope Christian Church. If you like our messages, you can also hear us on the radio or on WARV 1590 on the AM dial, 92.7 FM, and we also stream live our radio show on our YouTube channel, New Hope Radio. Do you like to listen to podcasts? You can find us at the Hope Club Podcast. That's the name, the Hope Club Podcast, where our messages are there for you. They're on demand, waiting for you to come and check them out. So thank you for coming along and studying the Word of God with us, and looking forward to being with you next time.